Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with Cetra, Mr. the Imperishable himself, going to be taking on the Vampire Counts. So let's get to the army composition. I already had my Hero Titan here, blast off Shem's Burning Gaze towards that Necromancer on a corpse cart. Didn't do that much damage, but anyway, we've got a front line of Skeleton Spears, 2 Shabti, the Regiment of Renowned Sphinx of Ugsek, the said Hero Titan, single Necrotech just with Restore, and of course Cetra on his horse here. He's got anti-large AP in this guise. He's got Incantation of Cursed Blades, Incantation of Protection, and his Blessed Blade, which gives him the Blinded effect and fire damage. Very pertinent in this particular matchup. That's pretty much it for my build. For my opponent, he's got the Red Duke up on a dragon here, Raised Head and Invocation. He's also got some Vargeist here, lots of zombies. I do have some chariots as well. Yeah, plenty of zombies. He's got Claw of Nagash here, 3 units of Crypt Horrors being held in a bit of a reserve there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Vampire forces. You can see the main line engagement already getting underway as the zombies kind of shamble in to fight the Skeleton Spearmen here. Skeleton Spearmen, of course, will hold out very well. The Shabti are going to come in and try and get on the Grave Guard, as does the Hero Titan here as well. The Regiment of Renowned Sphinx of Ugsek, of course, going after the Claw of Nagash, very high value target, and that elite anti-large AP of the Sphinx of Ugsek should be able to get some good damage, so he's going to get in here with the claw hands, start to unleash some hits there. Meanwhile, Cetra fighting in this main line, trying to escape, but the Shabti kind of blocking him in a little bit here. He's not really able to get out very well. It's kind of some derpy pathing going on, but yeah, unfortunately I do mismicro my chariots a little bit here. They do get bogged down by Crypt Horrors and taken out. They could have done a lot of damage, like pulling into this back of this big old zombie blob here, but Red Duke and the Vargeist do come down to try and goon the Necrotech, drop some zombies here as well, and then pop back up into the air once the Sphinx of Ugsek, etc. try and come over. Thankfully, we didn't get infoliated by the zombies, so we'll be able to pull away with Cetra and the Sphinx back to the front line. You can see the Hero Titan pushing through the back line here, trying to get on that Claw of Nagash. Of course, the Hero Titan does have fire damage as well, fire and magic damage. That being said, the Claw of Nagash in particular does have magic resistance to help negate the 25% weakness to fire, so it's a bit of a wash there. But definitely will do well against the Crypt Horrors. Of course, they don't have any magic resistance. Shabti also pushing through to kind of support in this engagement here. And with the Overcast Incantation of Cursed Blades giving a bonus versus large, we should be able to get these Shabti to trade fairly well against the Crypt Horrors. Right now, it looks like they're poisoned a bit, but yeah, I've been throwing out that Overcast Incantation of Cursed Blades whenever I feel the ability to, especially on this Hero Titan, like we've got it over here now. So you can see the Hero Titan is up to 550 weapon strength and had that bonus versus large temporarily there, so we'll trade a bit more effectively against the Crypt Horrors and other large units over on this side with that Incantation of Cursed Blades up. Meanwhile, we're starting to grind through this huge horde of zombies over on the far side. There's a lot of bodies for us to cut through. That's kind of my opponent's idea here, is to just saturate with so many zombies that it takes me a while to cut through them, and then go after my high value targets with his heavy hitters. Thankfully for me, Cetra is staying relatively protected by the Sphinx of Ugsek here. He's coming through, just laying down the hammer time against the Vargeist here and the Crypt Horrors as well. Breath attack coming down, relatively ineffective though at hitting a single model there, not doing a whole lot of damage to the Sphinx of Ugsek. Meanwhile, the Shabti over here doing a great job, cleaned up already 100 kills and racking it up, but the Red Duke's going to come down and try and finish them off here. Of course, the Mortis Engine does have to be in melee combat to apply its drain effect, so looks like I thought that Red Duke was going to pull down. Oh, there he pulls down now after summoning the zombies, and he does have the armor piercing to cut through the Shabti. A Grave Guard and most of the other vampire units just really aren't going to have enough armor piercing to deal with these Shabti. Crypt Horrors, of course, do have armor piercing as well, but they just don't have the best combat stats. Crypt Horrors used to be a really popular unit, but due to the fact that they have really poor melee attack and defense, and kind of subpar weapon strength as well, means that they're not a super common pick, although they are doing some pretty good damage to the Hero Titan here. We're putting that Incantation of Protection to give him the physical resistance any time we can, rather. That nice, sweet 44% to help mitigate some of that damage, and of course, every time we cast one of those spells, we are popping off the lore attribute for the Lord Nehekara as well, which heals all my units map-wide, which is always beneficial. But yeah, we're going to get the Necrosphinx pushing through to help support the Hero Titan, because obviously both these units are very expensive, and I'd prefer not to lose either of them. Once again, Overcast Incantation of Cursed Blade, since we're still fighting against Crypt Horrors mostly. That extra bonus versus large, I believe it's a 16 bonus versus large, will be quite helpful there in dealing with those large units in the back. You can see the Red Duke actually going to come down here, but this is pretty dangerous considering all the anti-large AP that's in this pocket right now with these two very heavy monsters. But yeah, we're going to put the Incantation Protection on the Sphinx of Usek now, but a couple good hits coming down on the Red Duke there. Definitely is going to have a hard time diving. That being said, the bounce power definitely in the Vampire's favor at this point. They've ground through a lot of the infantry here, of course lost the chariots as well. Now likewise, we've been able to grind through a lot of the zombies, and mostly just focusing on the Graveguard now at this point. Cetra's going to come around, and we're going to try and focus this Necromancer on the Corpse Cart, who does have the Unholy Lodestone, so he is providing some healing, as well as the Master of the Dead. So, as you can see, the Sphinx is coming. Red Duke tries to interrupt, but this is going to be a big mistake. He's going to take a couple of nasty hits here from the Sphinx of Usek, and of course, we do drop once again the Overcast Incantation of Cursed Blades, bring the Sphinx of Usek up to a 51 bonus versus large, which is just insane. Cetra comes in with his Blessed Blade active, so he does fire damage all of a sudden, and this Necromancer is in for a bad time. He's going to start to go down in a big hurry. Just a few hits from both Cetra and the Necrosphinx should be able to do enough damage to get a nice low here. Meanwhile, the Hero Titan pushing through, trying to get on the Claw and the Gash. The Vargeists are going to come down to support here, but we're going to push the Necrosphinx over and across, as well as Cetra himself, of course, to deal with these Crypt Horrors. And man, what a cool looking model. I know it's not super lore friendly for Cetra to ride a horse, but definitely very powerful in terms of Total War Warhammer to have the mobility and the anti-large AP. But you can see Red Duke trying to come down. We did or are just about to, rather, summon some Ushabti to try and pin him in here, so that we have Ushabti on both sides. But yeah, this unit of Ushabti is taking a bit of damage here to the Red Duke, but the Necrosphinx is going to push over, and the summoned Ushabti as well going to summon up here, and we're going to immediately issue the attack order for all these constructs to get on the Red Duke and start doing damage to him. You can see he does even get staggered there from a few of the hits from the Ushabti, which is always nice. Looks like he's summoning up some zombies there. Fortunately, the Necrosphinx gets a little bit distracted by the Stearnsmen, but they are crumbling, thankfully, and being such a tanky unit, of course, taking them out is pretty important. You can see the balance power has crept back into even. Incantation Protection once again going down for the Hero Titan, just proccing that map-wide healing. I didn't catch it, but both the Necrotex heals have been used at this point, so not a whole lot of healing except for what we can get from that lore attribute. So, of course, the Incantation Protection as well, very useful for the physical resistance, especially when you're surrounded like this Hero Titan is here, unleashing the laser eyes into the Crypt Horrors there. And yeah, those Crypt Horrors are definitely suffering. They're still online, getting pretty close to their healing cap though, and suffering in terms of their leadership. But at this point, the balance power is pretty close, but the Vampires are going to have some issues. Once again, the Red Duke tries to come down, but immediately Cetra, the Hero Titan, and the Necrosphinx all just going to turn around and start beating the crap out of him. And with all this armor piercing and anti-large, you can see he just took a ton of damage from that engagement. Skeleton Spearmen also coming in here. Man, I love the charge animation of the Tombs King Skeleton Spears with their, like, haggard holding the spear up in the air. It's amazing. But anyway, Red Duke does manage to get back up in the air, but the kind of construct Death Star here with Cetra and these two constructs is going to be able to hold out. There's mostly just Crypt Horrors and Vargeists at this point, as well as the Red Duke. Red Duke looks like going after some of the Ushabti there, the summoned Ushabti, which is fine by me. I'm going to let him chew on them for a while we try and finish off some of these other monstrous infantry in his pocket here. A bit of a monster match with the Ushabti, the Necrosphinx, the Hero Titan. Cetra's lost somewhere in the madness, but yeah, it actually looks like Necrosphinx going after the Claw of Nagash again, and Cetra himself going to try to do so, but having a hard time kind of pulling around his own units there. Looks like one of the Ushabti even getting a few attacks, but there comes Cetra, getting a nice swipe on that Mortis Engine there. Just a few hits from both of these guys will do enough damage to take this thing down, so the hits on the Mortis Engine in particular are going to affect the balance power very severely, and with it going down, it should be GG for the Vampires. So a pretty long and grinding fight, kind of a bit of a monster match with the Crypt Horrors and stuff, but fun battle nonetheless. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. In terms of the armies here, you can see the last of the vampire units disintegrating now, and the Tomb King is carrying the day. So yeah, in terms of the army breakdown here, I mean, my opponent brought a lot of bodies, and that almost ended up working. It took me a while to cut through them, but you can see we definitely were able to. I mean, 156 kills on Skeleton Spearmen, the Scorpion Legion racking up 257. That just goes to show how that high melee defense really helps them hold out against waves and waves of low-tier, chaff tier even troops. Like, zombies just really won't be able to touch them. So 314 kills on these Ushabti as well. Both Ushabti had started out with 2 XP chevrons, so this one able to get another XP chevron through the course of the battle. And the Hero Titan, definitely a true MVP, pretty much soloed those 3 groups of Crypt Horrors there for a while, racked up 3 XP chevrons and 63 kills. Just an absolute MVP. I really like the Hero Titan in this matchup. Pretty hard for the vampires to take down. Likewise, the Necro Sphinx, of course, the Sphinx of Usek here. 125 kills. Pretty good stuff. The Chariot was a little bit ineffective. Could have done better, but 115 for these other Ushabti as well. Of course, my opponent did have a very high model count army with a lot of zombies, so to be expected with high kill totals, but still very impressive. Speaking of my opponent's build, his Crypt Horrors just didn't perform, and I think that was the biggest issue. He was really relying on the armor piercing of the Crypt Horrors to get through the armored constructs of the Tomb Kings, and at the end of the day, they weren't able to do that, so, you know, the Ushabti and the other constructs were able to push through pretty aggressively. I think my opponent's biggest mistake, honestly, was not bringing Dance Macabre, because I think if you were to bring Dance Macabre and overcast it on this big blob of Crypt Horrors here, you could potentially get some really good value. Because, I mean, Crypt Horrors, if we go ahead and have a look at their stats here, they really, like I said before, they really have pretty subpar combat stats. But with the Dance Macabre, of course, it's relatively cheap to overcast, and you can get it on the whole blob, and then suddenly they get that plus 26 melee attacks. They're up in the 50 range. You know, they'll be able to make solid hits on a big Tomb King Elite construct. So I definitely think that not bringing Dance Macabre was a bit of a mistake for my opponent. I would have probably cut the spells off the Necromancer on the Corpse Cart and just brought him with no spells whatsoever, just on the Corpse Cart and the Forbidden Rod. That would have probably allowed a little bit of extra funds to take Dance Macabre on the Red Duke, just to be able to buff up those Crypt Horrors. So, you know, something like this. If we come in here, and of course, we are going to need Dance Macabre. This zombie summon's always nice as well. So something like this to buff up the Crypt Horrors with some more melee attack. That way they can actually make pretty solid contact with the constructs. Might work out a little bit better. That being said, I really don't think Crypt Horrors are the best choice here. Blood Knights are very strong in this matchup because they're great against most Tomb King's infantry. You know, pretty much all Tomb King's infantry doesn't go above 50 armor, so you can always expect your Blood Knights to connect on a good charge, you know, as long as they're not charging into the front of a, you know, charge defense unit like Tomb Guard or something. But Tomb Guard with halberds, that is. But as long as you get a good, you know, side charge, or even charging in the face of like a skeleton warrior or something like that, can do really good damage. And then of course the Blood Knights also will do quite well against the constructs. Likewise, Terrorgeists are pretty good. They don't do quite as well against the Tomb King's infantry, but they do have their own passive regeneration and the heavy anti-large AP to get through the constructs. Once again though, pretty poor melee attack, so you will want to bring Dance Macabre to augment their combat stats as well. Blood Knights do have a little bit better stats, and mostly they rely on their high charge bonus of 72 to really get work done, being a unit of shock cavalry, but 32 attacks, not too bad. And again, Dance Macabre, very useful for buffing these guys up so they can make solid contact on those big constructs. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's a pretty fun matchup, Vampires versus Tomb Kings. You know, it's pretty dynamic. I definitely think it's not as poor for the vampire counts as it used to be, but I do think it's one of the potentially tougher matchups. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.